All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today starts the LS build. Finally, we are going to start this build and we are not going to stop until we complete it. And this built LS motor is in that Trans Am behind me. So I will put a link in the video below in the description of how we got this motor to this point. At this point, it's almost a bare block, pretty much a roller. We're gonna get it painted today, get the heads reassembled. We're doing pretty much a stage 2 build, sloppy stage 2 cam, new oil pump, new valve springs, cleaned up heads, valve job. Any parts that we can replace along the way, that is what we're going to do. So without wasting any more time, we are going to start this LS build today. Hopefully we will get this motor painted, get the heads reassembled, and hopefully get it back together. All right, guys, I'm going to need some help on this one. That thing didn't even break. Never look at the cam bearings to see your oil passes from left to right through this little galleyway. So this is how the motor currently sits. As you can see, this motor was extremely dirty on the outside. We've knocked everything down with brake clean and some scrubbing brushes to the point where we feel it's ready to paint. Fortunately though, the motor was super clean and pristine on the inside. So there's one thing left we have to do. We have to pull out the original cam, and then we're gonna tape this thing up, get it ready to paint. While the block dries, we'll assemble and get the rest of the components ready. Coolest thing about these motors, like a 10 mil and a 12 mil, you can pretty much take apart the whole thing. So we're going to keep our crank sprocket on here, and that's kind of your standard case of what everybody does. We're going to replace the timing chain, reuse the cam sprocket after we put a new cam in. And as far as the internals go, like inside the motor, that's pretty much all we're replacing is going to be the cam, timing chain, and then the oil pump. Other than that, it'll be back to a roller, and we'll do all the components bolt on after that. And break off our cam retainer plate, which we're replacing as well. This plate has a O-ring gasket behind it, and it actually helps channel your oil from the left side to the right side. So that is why we'll be replacing this gasket right here. As you can see, your oil passes from left to right through this little galleyway. So we don't want any leak by on this. If you have a leak by, it'll stay inside the motor, but you will have diminished oil pressure. And there's our cam right there. Now I'll grab our stock water pump bolts, screw these into the cam, and pull this thing out. Now this is all information I've learned from watching most of you guys do this. So this is my first cam swap in an LS, honestly. You want to really carefully pull this out because it slides through your cam journals or the bearings. So you don't want to scrape them as you're coming out. So you want to kind of keep it slow and steady, even though you're not using. Pretty smooth so far. All right, she's out. And they say you don't want to drop these because they will shatter. That thing didn't even break. Totally thought that was going to snap in half. So now the motor is completely stripped down with the cam, tappets are out, everything is out. It is ready for a final kind of cleaning prep for paint. Don't they always say never look at the cam bearings? Well guys, I can't not. I gotta look at them. I give it one last brake clean prep on the block. Let that dry out, and then we will tape and paint. Everybody says not to look at them. Everybody says. Guess what I did? I looked at them. All right, guys, I'm gonna need some help on this one. Luckily, it's not gonna affect what we were wanting to get done today. I'm still gonna paint the block, get all that stuff painted, get it prepped, and then I want you guys to check these bearings out. They look like crap to me. I was not expecting on changing these. Let's get this thing painted. We're almost ready to paint, and then I'll get you guys a close up on these bearings and you guys tell me what you think. First coat going down. All right, there's the first light coat of the original motor color, which was GM Corporate Blue. I wanted to keep it kind of OG, that way when you pop the hood, some people would think it's the original motor, but then others who actually know would be like, oh, it's an Ellis motor. I thought that would look pretty cool. So we got light dusting on that. Now we're gonna switch over, change gears, and start putting our heads back together, get the valve job done, all that, and then we'll just kind of lay down these layers on the engine in between there while they dry up. Here's the last head we have to do. The first one is already done. What I did with these heads, I took them completely apart, and I actually learned a trick from one of you guys. I used the oven cleaner. So I took the head completely apart, oven cleaned them, and rinsed it off and hit it with a little bit of Scotch-Brite, and they came out pretty good. The only thing we have left to do is the lap valve job. I did this on the other one already, and I'm simply gonna take the valves, I keep them in the current location as they came out stock. We'll put some lapping compound on the valves and I'll spin it with my drill a couple times, put some pressure on it until it will hold water. Now these seats look really good. The only ones that look, kind of rough are the exhaust valves. For some reason, they almost have it almost looks like corrosion or just maybe got overheated or something, but they do not look that great. The intake valves look awesome. Still shiny, still hold water. They're great. So we're gonna get all these valves back in. We'll clean the stems first, put a little bit of lube on them. That way they spin in the valve guides freely, and then we will lap them and get them back together. All right, this is just a simple breakdown. I'll get the stem first, knock any of the corrosion on it down, and then I will smooth the actual stem with some Scotch-Brite. Look it over. If it looks nice and smooth, that's all I'll do. I'll spray a little silicone on there, only so it can slide in the valve guide. Slide the valve back in, make sure it slides freely, because you don't want any grit or anything like that in the valve guide for when you spin it with a drill, because we have to lap the faces of this valve and the valve seat. So we will spin it a lot, so you want to make sure that your valve and valve guide is super clean and has a little bit of lube on it. So I'm going to take the valve, put a little bit of this compound all the way around in a few spots. You don't have to get crazy with it. Back in the valve guide, and then you get the drill. Nice and slow and easy. That's it, and then we'll pull the valve out, use our separate lapping compound shop rag, and clean the grit off. And as you can see, it puts a nice, flat, even wear mark all the way around the valve for a good seal. Clean the seat off. And that's it. One done, 7 to go. So pumped with how it came out. GM Corporate Blue. God, it looks awesome. That's gonna look so cool under the hood. All right, back on the heads, we gotta get this one going, and then we're gonna check out these cam bearings. You guys let me know what the hell I should do. All the valves are lapped. Now I'm going to clean up the valve lapping compound material. Pretty much throw this rag away because it is done. It's covered in sand lapping stuff. So we will toss this so we don't use it to prep any of the other engine parts. Once I get all that stuff cleaned up, this head will get a final cleaning and a final gasket scraping or gasket surface prep, and then we'll assemble it. For the first stage of the gasket removal, I like to just take a razor blade and hit any of the high points of the material. And after the razor blade scrape, we'll just go to Scotch-Brite. We're all cleaned up, almost ready to install. We are gonna put our valve seals on these valve guides all the way down, replace them with our brown ones that came in our gasket kit. And then when we install the springs, we're running the PAC 625 lift Beehive springs, I believe. And the original retainers and clips on top for the springs. Just like so. That one is good. 3 more to go. The last head is complete. Set those aside. All right, come check out these cam bearings. So the paint came out awesome. It's still a little sticky, needs a day or so to dry, but I absolutely love it. I think it's gonna look great under the hood. And I had full intentions of getting the motor pretty much assembled today, guys. But as I was taping this damn thing up, and I got a Pico one, and I was like, what the hell is that? So let me get this tape off here. I'll flip it over and get y'all's opinion, because it kind of blows my mind, because the motor looks so clean and good shape, except for these dang bearings. I saw one and I'm like, how the hell does that even happen? So on one bearing, and almost all of them, they look completely worn out on one side, and then the other side of the bearing has hardly any wear on it at all. Right there around the oil passage, it's pretty much worn down to the copper. But then if you look around it on the complete other side of where it's worn, it's like rough. Like it literally, it feels like overspray on that thing. And then when you take your hand around to the side, right there, my finger's touching now, is worn all the way through to the copper, only on this top corner. And then the other 3/4 of the bearing, it's like overspray on it. It's so weird. Like it's not a smooth surface at all when you touch it. It kind of feels like, I mean, it feels exactly like overspray. You can kind of see it right there. So I saw that, I'm like, what in the heck does that mean? And this one is actually minimal. The ones inside the motor are super hard to see, but they have the same characteristics, like the same side is worn out, but it's a lot more extreme. Yeah, so to me, that looks extremely weird. I'm not sure why it's like that. Then you got the crosshatch on this motor, which is beautiful. You know, a little bit of burnt oil on top of the pistons, but I think that was mainly because a couple of the valve seals were kind of loose and worn out. So all new valve seals will fix that problem. There it is, a quick unexpected end to our first video on this build. If you guys know any information on those cam bearings, if I should replace them or not, let me know. They're kind of weird looking, and why I have it down to this point, stripped down, you know, I don't have a huge issue replacing them. But let me know what you guys think. It's kind of weird how they're worn out on one side and the other side's kind of gritty feeling. So that's weird. Everything else is going good. The paint came out awesome. I love it, how it looks. It's gonna look so great when you get this thing together. All right, guys, God bless. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe, and we will see you next week, hopefully when we put this thing together.